and welcome into Two-Man Game here on ClavesOnline.com. I'm Matthew Rocc, that's Bob Ramsey, and we're here to talk a little basketball. And since it is post-college basketball season, it means we're talking a little NBA as the play-in games are underway. Bob Ramsey, how are you doing today, sir?
Great to visit with you. It's springtime. We got all sports going. It's just the NBA or the NFL draft, the NBA playoffs starting. It's a great time to be in the sports business.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little about those NBA playoffs because we had the play-in game last night, the first of the two. Obviously, you have the Hawks with a surprising victory, I would say, over the Heat in the East to secure the 7th seed. And then the Minnesota Timberwolves fall in overtime to the Los Angeles Lakers as the Lakers secure their 7th seed in the West. And then obviously you have the 8 and 9 seeds tonight, which will then lead to the eventual games for the 8 seeds later on this week. You have the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Pelicans. Tonight, that's the late game in the West at 8:30. And then coming up here in about 45 minutes, it is the East play-in game between the Bulls and the Raptors. A couple quick thoughts, Rammer, from last night's play-in games, mainly the one in the West, because there was so much lead up to the play-in tournament talking about the Lakers and how strong they had been playing over the last month or so, so much so that even Kendrick Perkins said that he thought they were going to win the title. Bottom line, I cannot see the team that played basketball last night winning an NBA title. It would shock the living hell out of me.
I'm glad you said that. I thought the way you set it up, you were going to go the other way, and we were going to have to have our first ever argument. The end of the game was they had 4 straight turnovers.
That's
still won. It was awful.
Yeah, the Timberwolves.
Like any measuring stick, it was terrible basketball.
The Timberwolves had 7 turnovers in the overtime.
Now,
17 turnovers in the overtime. That's ridiculous.
Now, part of that's their own fault for Gobert and his ridiculousness. But the Lakers kept turning it over. The Lakers were begging them to take the game. Begging them.
And honestly, I wish they would have, because I just couldn't believe. I mean, there's people who were saying, if the Lakers if it ends up being Lakers Nuggets in the first round, the Lakers are going to give the Nuggets a series. And here's why I thought that was crazy. And here's why I think last night confirmed that. The Nuggets, to their detriment, and it's fair to come off a team when they do this, the Nuggets stopped trying after the first week of March. They literally had mathematically clinched the first overall, the first seed in the West. They stopped playing in the first week of March.
Yeah.
Consequently, the Lakers made a couple trades and then started playing playoff intensity level basketball in March, when the only other team in the Western Conference playing playoff intensity basketball was the Minnesota Timberwolves. And so I don't know how people all of a sudden saw 5-6 months of the Nuggets being the best team in the West, and then as soon as they stopped trying, and it was bad, and the defensive effort from them in the last month and a half was pathetic. But you had 6 months of the Nuggets dominating, and then you had 1 month of the Lakers playing well, and everyone was like, well, I think I'm going to roll with the 1 month when no one else was also trying to win basketball games. And somehow that took over media for a 3-day span before the play-in, and rightfully, everyone came down to earth after last night's debacle, because I don't know how you can watch that team. And again, LeBron's going to get his, AD's going to get his, and they did throughout the entire night. But if you were just looking at the box score throughout the entire night while you were watching the game, you were just constantly seeing just single digits in the points column for everybody but LeBron and AD throughout the majority of the game, and there were a bunch of zeros and stuff like that. It's just they don't have the bench, they don't have the depth, even with the moves they made.
Well, you're right. And Davis and James are trying. You can see it. They're trying to elevate their teammates. They're just not capable of playing at that level, I don't think. We may have to eat some crow by the end of June, but I don't see it.
I mean, Rui Hachimura is a great player, but and Dennis Schroeder, and Austin
Hachimura is not a great player yet.
Okay, he's a good player. Dennis Schroeder's fun to watch, and Austin Reeves is a good story. But again, when Dennis Schroeder is going to be your best guy, actually listed as a guard, not a wing, not a forward, you're not going to win a championship. And so I was kind of happy that some of that came off the rose a little bit, because I don't understand it. They're now going to match up not with the the Nuggets in the first round, but obviously with the Memphis Grizzlies. And again, that's a terrible matchup for them. Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to probably block 5 shots in the first game and a half against Davis, and then Davis will turn his ankle in the middle of the second game, and that series will pretty much be over. LeBron will have to go atomic, but the Grizzlies match up great with them, I think, and I don't think it's going to be that close in that first round.
Couple things about that. I tend to agree with you. You know, when you've been around coaches your whole career like I have, you start to look at things that can go wrong and really worry about them more than you probably should. But they're going to have a real challenge with Davis. With Steven Adams out, they're going to have a real challenge figuring out how to guard with, taking away from one column into the other and still being able to guard everybody. I don't think it'll make a difference in the ultimate outcome, but it is something they'll need to adjust to. Their firepower, meaning Memphis, though, is ridiculous. Kennard shooting 54% from 3-point range or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Their firepower is ridiculous, and I agree with you. I just don't see how the Lakers can beat them.
Yeah, it's actually funny. I was listening to the Chris Vernon show down in Memphis this morning, and they were talking about how the Lakers just let Taurean Prince just stand out there wide open, and he actually made him pay, went 4-7 from deep. And they were talking about how that's probably what the Lakers are going to do with Dillon Brooks, and how Dillon Brooks will probably take 30 shots because of that. And that might be the only reason they lose a game in this series, which I was like, yeah, that sounds about right.
It's funny about Dillon Brooks. Did you see his quote today? And I can't remember where I saw it. For a guy who might not be the most even-tempered, measured person in the NBA, he had a very mature quote. No bulletin board material about the Lakers. Talked about how great LeBron was, how they earned it. I think
I have it here. Is this? I don't really dislike anybody. I just bring a competitive edge, but I wouldn't mind playing LeBron in a 7-game series. The legacy is there. First time back in the playoffs, knock him out right away. It'll test us good. They got good pieces, good players. That'll be a good first-round matchup for us.
Now, compared to what you would expect from him,
it's pretty tame.
That's a pretty measured, mature, non-bulletin board comment.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Obviously, the Timberwolves still alive. They will play the winner of tonight's Thunder and Pelicans matchup for the right to be the 8th seed and play the Denver Nuggets in the first round. By the way, on that Thunder-Pelicans matchup, the Thunder obviously without Zion Williamson. The Pelicans obviously without Zion Williamson. They're also going to be without Jose Alvarado, which I think is a big factor into this game. I mean, him being able to guard Shea Gilgeous-Alexander was the one thing that would have kind of given me a big boon in the Pelicans' favor. The Thunder are actually the underdog in this game. I think it's at a 5.5-point spread right now, but I actually think that's a great number to grab right now if you want to bet on this game, because again, without Zion and without Jose Alvarado, I think this is going to be like a 130, 120 something win for the Thunder.
And I should know this, and I don't. What is the prognosis for Zion? Should they win tonight? Is he just done?
Well,
I know it's a hamstring.
Here's the
2 months on a hammy, though. That's pretty.
The quote from Zion, which is why I'm laughing. The quote from Zion is, "I'm going to be back when I feel like Zion again," which tells me he's not coming back this year. That's the most definitive. I'm not playing this year, no matter how far we go in the playoffs. I've heard in a long time. That's not what you want to hear.
Yeah, if a hamstring is that bad, you probably should have had surgery.
Absolutely. Over in the Eastern Conference, it's going to be the Toronto Raptors and the Bulls tonight. They will play the Miami Heat, who, I mean, everyone's shocked that they lost to the Atlanta Hawks last night. Jimmy Butler extremely disappointed in his team, says they have to bring it all on Friday. Absolutely, you have to. That's your season. The Heat. This is a team that was the first overall seed in the East last year. And for them to fall like that, it's incredible. And if you look at the numbers, it's pretty clear. Their defense got even better. Their offense completely cratered off relative to the rest of the NBA.
And why? Why do you think that is?
I think it probably comes – I mean, last year Max Strus and Vincent were kind of these keys that opened up the long-term shooting that Duncan Robinson had kind of fallen off from. So for me, I honestly think that Eric Spoelstra finds an edge with players that might not be the most talented players, and then teams figure it out a little bit, and Spoelstra comes back with a couple more little things, that are different the next year, and he's able to get a couple. And I just think maybe it might be a situation where, you're going to have a good year, you're going to have a down year. If you're always shocking people with that, I can't believe the Heat are this good with some of these players they have. The other side of that coin just might be sometimes things don't break your way. You have a couple of games go against you, and now all of a sudden you're 7-8 games worse than you were last year. Jimmy Butler wasn't as good offensively. Bam Adebayo didn't take that jump you expected him from him this year. But I don't think anyone necessarily got worse. I just think some of the players you were expecting to keep going stagnated a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
One thing that's interesting as you look towards the Raptors and the Bulls tonight, the Raptors are favored in this game. I would expect that. The Bulls have just been an unfortunate team the entire year. We had so much fun talking about them last year with that crazy defense that they were running. And unfortunately, without Lonzo Ball, it's just, and with Caruso, being injured again this year, they just haven't had it. The Raptors are interesting because they still have Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, and OG Anunoby has really exploded this year. So you really want to roll with the Raptors if they can get something going. But the fact of the matter is right now, there's not a cohesive game coming from the Raptors night in and night out. That's what you saw from the entire year.
They're capable of really high-level play, but they can't stay there consistently.
Siakam's a great example of just how really tough it is in the NBA. I think people with the high scoring today, people really think it's so easy to be a superstar in the NBA. It's so easy to score 30 points in the NBA. But, Siakam made that jump. And somehow he went from an 18-point scorer to a 24-point scorer, and yet still there's a level of stagnation and people saying, well, you want to see a little bit more from him in that kind of game. It's kind of just shocking that the Raptors are struggling the way they are. They can make a little bit of run here if they're able to win this game and become the 8th seed. It'll be interesting to see. But honestly, the only team anyone was talking about making a deep run as a low-seeded team is going to be in the West, in my opinion. I just don't think the Nets, Knicks, or any of these other Eastern Conference teams really have it right now.
I agree, 100%.
Do you have a team right now in the West that you would see? Obviously the Warriors are a 6th seed. I think it's kind of cheating to call them an underdog to make a little run.
Here's the deal. Stop right there. What we should have done, sorry we didn't have that production meeting, really you need a power ranking because as I've been complaining about all year, when rarely does a team play even back-to-back games with their full roster. We had to look at the full rosters and then try and compare. And I think the Warriors are no worse than a 3rd seed if you go with a power ranking. Again, forget the records. What do they have when they're playing everybody? And I probably I might even have them 2.
Well, here's what we're going to do, Raymond. We're going to come back to the 2-man game after we finish up these play-in games, and we're going to have the power ranking as we go into the first round of the NBA playoffs. We got some more play-in games to watch tonight, and that's going to wrap up our show. Rammer, before we go, please tell everybody about our good friends at Royal Banks of Missouri.
Royal Banks of Missouri, every branch feels like your hometown bank, and those branches have expanded. St. Louis proper, the East Side in Granite and Jerseyville, St. Charles County, and 3 locations in Northeast Missouri. Every one of them is where Royal Bank says better service means better banking. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Rammer, thank you so much for your time today. You have a great rest of your day, sir.
Thanks, buddy. Talk to you soon.
And have a great rest of the day, St. Louis.
At St. Louis Acura, we have over 130 new Acura models in stock or on the way in March. Like the 2023 Acura MDX, get $1,500 in loyalty cash when you buy, or you can lease the MDX starting at $599 a month. Earn $1,000 loyalty cash on the 2023 Integra, RDX, or TLX. Or you can save over $3,500 on our large selection of Acura courtesy vehicles. St. Louis Acura, better than ever for you.